You're listening to Chameleon Church. Biblical Antidotes for the Modern Man. With your host, Allan Aguirre.
Well, top of the morning to you. It is the Tuesday morning edition and the only edition of the Chameleon Church Show. My name is Darryl Weinberg. I am your co-host this morning, and I am here with my good friend all the way from Eureka, California, Lenny Perata. Good morning, Lenny.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Really good. Good. It's a nice morning, nice drizzle outside, of course, like it always is in Eureka, but it'll be sunny at about 10 o'clock. But boy, what a week we've gone through. I can't wait till, and yet at the same time, already this morning, any kind of thing that can happen will happen.
It's looking like
Allan
that.
said he's going to join us in a few minutes. So.
Yeah, Allan's having, he's fighting with his computer this morning. So he did, if Allan's not fighting with someone, then it's just not an Allan morning. So he decided his computer was it this morning. So we have Desi this morning. Good morning, Desiree. It's Christine all the way from Wales. And I trust Martin's there with you too. And we have Dina. Good morning, Dina. And others will be joining on board soon too. So so what's the latest, Lenny? What's happening? What's going down? What's going on?
There's so much, and yet to try to decipher what's true and not is it's a real task right now. There's so much stuff in the air. I mean, words are flying everywhere, and I don't know. I got this big long text last night of saying this is what's being engaged right now in Washington, and yet there's no substantiation. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting, the usual avenues of social media, you can't, where you could communicate with friends just is not there available, because I was on Parler for the last 3 weeks to a month and going back and forth between that and then Facebook and everything else. And so now I'm just trying to rely on certain web places, and it's still pretty sketchy. Mm-hmm. It's going to be an interesting time if we can't communicate, and how we're going to have to do new communication. And a lot of people are giving a thought to that right now. So,
All right.
How's the far reaches of Canada?
They're it's a little quieter here.
There we go.
And and there he is.
For some reason, I was talking to Lenny, and my MacBook Pro just everything turned off and shut down, and decided it was going to do an update for some reason. I'm like, wait, I didn't give you permission to do any update, and so I wasn't sure what update it was. Like I could still be sitting here for days if it was like an iOS update. I had no idea. Oh, microphone. Does that help?
That's better.
Oh, geez. Hey, it feels like a Monday. Did you guys introduce the show and all that? And
no, we just sat here babbling like a bunch of idiots waiting for you to get on and help us.
That's too bad. That's too bad. I see we're live, though. So you're babbling like idiots live?
Isn't that what we usually do?
Oh, I forgot what show I was doing. We're doing that show. We're doing the Babble Like Idiots show. Okay. I'm caught up now. I know what's going on now. Oh, man. So, hey, good morning. How's everybody doing?
Everybody's good.
Is there anybody here? Look at that. We got people. Hey, did you guys do any business? Hey, be sure to like, subscribe. If you're on YouTube, share, leave a comment. You've got 3 flavors to choose from. Hold on. Where should I go to find that information? Oh, the Lamb Radio Video Network, Facebook and YouTube, and the Chameleon Church Facebook.
So there's various ways for you to watch. I'm not sure which one you're watching on. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, Monster Mash. Allan, is that I'm not sure what that means, but okay. And how to detach from Apple products? No, you know what, Smiley? I'm not getting rid of my Apple products. There's no way. I'm not going to get rid of my brand new iMac, my brand new MacBook Pro, iPhone, iPads. I can't do that. You know what? I'm not going to hide in a cave. I'm just not going to do that. But you can. But I don't know how to do it. You know, the only thing you can do is just delete your Apple account. Delete that account. Send me all your Apple products and then go get a PC. Oh, wait, you can't do that either because the PC's Microsoft and you got Bill Gates and he's trying to vaccinate you. So you pretty much can't have a phone, not even an Android. Can't, because that's Google, isn't it? I believe Android's Google. I'm not sure. I could be wrong. But
No, that's Samsung.
oh, okay. Well, I guarantee you they're part of the beast.
Oh, sure they are.
So you can't have a phone. You'll never be able to do this with us again. Bye. See what I'm saying?
There's a lot of people. Everybody wants to get off and run away from everything. And I'm going, man, we need to preach the gospel until they kick us off.
Yeah, you know, they were told not to go back to the temple and preach. Okay. Right?
Yep.
Right.
So what happens? They're in jail. They're getting beat. They're threatened.
Back to the temple.
Don't go back. You are not allowed to go back to the temple. And what did they say? Okay, we've got to disconnect from the temple. We got to pull all our stuff from the temple. No, they got up and went back to the freaking temple and kept on preaching.
Right.
Okay? Bye, Smiley. Bye. Don't mess with me, Smiley. It's too early. I have had less than half a cup of coffee. I just wrestled with my computer. I'm trying to, you know, this what are we on? Are we on StreamYard? Yeah. This StreamYard system of logging on, it's stupid. I couldn't log on my iMac because I can't get the code because it's not my email account. I couldn't log in with my iPad, and what's his name's not answering. So that's not a big fan of the StreamYard logging in system. Not even a little bit. I did show up. I'm here. Don't go, Smiley. I am wound up. I'm freaking wound up, Kevin. I am. Hey, while I'm wound up, no, I was going to say I was going to hawk some calendars, but forget. Forget. If you guys haven't bought one yet, I don't want to even talk to you about it. I'm not even going to bother. Hey, how's everybody going? How's everybody doing? It's Tuesday morning. Let me drink a little bit more Joe so I can slow down. You don't know what's in here.
Coffee slows you down, huh?
By 10 o'clock, I'm like, 2-minute warnings. Yeah. I got Mexican. I got Irish coffee going on in here. Just kidding. Okay. Last Tuesday, we said this is going to be an interesting week. Less than 24 hours later. Well, about 24 hours later.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing, man. If you were on my Facebook page yesterday, you saw that I had an interaction with one of these people on my Facebook page. They came onto my wall and passively aggressively left a comment insinuating that Trump was a dictator. And so, me being my pastoral self, I said, are you saying, literally, it's up there. You can go read it for yourself. Are you saying that Trump is a dictator? And Muppet Boy came back saying, hey, Allan, if you can't see that the last 4 years, he's been like Hitler and blah, 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 and he's doing there, blah, 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 then I don't know how to get you there. I'm like, oh. So as soon as, so I immediately went to check. Because see, remember what I did in November? In early November, I accepted close to 200 friend requests without vetting them. Because see, normally when I get a friend request, they just pile up, because I don't have time to deal with it. And then I might find a few minutes in a day to start vetting them. And my vetting process is pretty simple. I check to see if we have any mutual friends. If we don't, probably not going to go very far from there. And if we do have any mutual friends, how many and what mutual friends are there? And I had to start doing this a few years ago because I had a troll that was leaving call to Islam call to prayer YouTube video in comments for all my pro-Israeli posts. And it was like some white guy in college somewhere in the Midwest. That sounds scary, right? Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, you know what? And so I'm like, this has gotten too far. So I changed my account so that only if you're a friend can you actually see what I'm posting. I rarely post, publicly. I have a little bit in the last couple of weeks, but that's Anyway, so my vetting process is easy. Do we have any mutual friends? If we do have mutual friends, how many and who are they? What part of the world are they coming from? Music, extreme tour, whatever. Torah community, right? That type of thing. Mm-hmm. And then I go and check their actual page. I look at their profile picture. The profile pictures pretty much tell me everything I need to know. And it's like, like serial killers, they all have a certain look to them. These people have a certain look to them. They all do. They all have that dumber than dumb look on their face. Yeah. And so I pretty much say no to those because that's just not going to be good. So, and then I'll go and peruse their wall. And if it's all about gaming or if it's all about whatever, I don't know. If there's no substance on their wall, I'm not gonna. No, I delete the friend request. I don't care who you are, whatever. Well, on a reckless evening in November, I accepted close to 200 friend requests without vetting a single one of them, and I posted about it. And I went, "Oh man, here we go!" And those of you that have been, on my Facebook friend for years knows what that means because you've seen the interaction that I have to deal with sometimes with these people. So I call him the November 100 plus. So as soon as this guy commented saying that, coming at me basically for being stupid and not understanding, if I can't see that Trump's a dictator and Hitler and blah, 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 I immediately went and looked and saw that. Sure enough, Muppet Boy is one of the November 100 plus. See, I said 100 plus instead of 200 because, And so I went, oh. Anyway, it's thank you, Mark. Anyway, I had to deal with this guy, and he's trying to suggest that Trump's a dictator and Hitler-esque, and that I'm the asshole. Sorry, because I told him because I said something like, "Oh, this is what happens when you let MSM tell you what to think, and this is what happens when you don't vet friend requests." And he goes, and so he got offended by that. I didn't know I had to be vetted as a fan. He played the fan card. What are you doing? I'm a fan of your band. I should be able to say and insult you any way I want, and you should take it. I live in the real world, sunshine. In the real world, homie, don't play that, buddy. And then I had to remind him so he didn't like anything that I was saying, and I had to remind him that that's why he was a fan. You're a fan of my music because I'm that guy, because I'm a jerk, and I put stuff in your face. They don't like that when there's no guitars in the background. I have found out, and so I saw that he unfriended me, and so I said, "Oh, okay, he's left on his own. Hey, you can't do that. Don't come on my wall and start doing that, because I'm gonna force you to qualify yourself, and no, you can't do that." And I forgot that it was a public post, so he was able to see that. So he came back and F you out, he told me to F off. Nice Christian guy, right? Well, I had already surmised he wasn't much of a Christian. If you go to his webpage, you'll see that he's involved with a whole bunch of goofy stuff you shouldn't be involved with if you claim Jesus. And so I left. So it's all up there for everyone to see. My point being is this. My point for sharing that with you is this. I had to actually interact with a human being yesterday that saw what happened on Wednesday and believes the freaking narrative. You have to be, okay, you know, I've been saying a special kind of stupid. No, you're an imbecile. If you saw what happened on Wednesday and believe that was a Trump-led insurrection to take over the government through violence, you're an absolute moron if you believe that. We're going to send a shirtless guy in there with a fur hat and horns? Are you serious? What kind of... I just can't. It's just mind-boggling to me that you've made the choice. You've decided to see and watch what happened on Wednesday and believe what you believe. Have you seen the articles that are out there from all the news media about insurrection, and they try to do a coup and violence, and it's like they make it sound like it was like some bloodbath by MAGA hat wearers against the Republic. It's absolutely mind-boggling. The only people that died, you killed.
Well, and it turns out that Ashley Babbitt, the woman who was supposedly shot, that was all false flag, because did you see the video and how they slowed it down, and the guy who shot her actually pointed the gun away.
No, I don't have. Yeah.
Well, and then she jumped off, landed on her backpack, and there's a bit of blood coming out of her mouth, and the gun that they showed that she supposedly was shot with was I think it was a 45 Glock or something like that. And the guy who posted the video, there was no narration, but it was all text. But he said, if you get hit in the neck with one of those things, there's going to be blood spurting everywhere, because he hit the carotid artery, and it was just a little bit of a trickle. I mean, it was the fake blood that they used to use in the vampire movies and stuff like this. Like, the whole thing was a psyop. It's a false flag operation.
I love the let's follow the cop up to the
yeah. come on
this way, and he's running backwards and he's stopping, and they're all just coming at him, and it was just like,
and they got the photographer around the back. And
if you're not smart enough, I'm from LA. I'm from Hollywood. I've been to Universal Studios backlots. I've been in movies. If you're not smart enough to see what happened and be able to come to the conclusion that, oh yeah, this is fake, you're an imbecile. And the fact that there's
terrifying.
Yeah, and the fact that there's that half of you in this country are imbeciles, and you want the keys to the car, and you stole the keys from the car. Oh, they're gonna flag us now. Unfreaking believable. You know, I have zero tolerance for stupidity. That's been my problem for a very long time. This is why I sang in a punk rock band, and that's why Muppet Boys, like whatever that guy's name yesterday, likes my punk rock band, because I made it very clear, this is stupid. No, right? And they identified with that. Well, now you're just so stupid. And then the religious of you are out there going to say, well, how could you call these people stupid, Allan? Jesus, you got to be more like Jesus. Jesus wouldn't. Really? Yes. I love, my wife teased me the other day because we were going through Proverbs together, and she teased me the other day because she goes, you really like that part. Wisdom cries out from the street, and you're so freaking stupid. You can't hear her call. And so when calamity befalls you, because you're so freaking stupid, wisdom will laugh at you and your calamity, because you weren't smart enough to heed her when she cried in the street.
Kevin says it was Canadians that stormed the Capitol.
Oh my God.
But nobody got an apology, so that's not true. Can't be. So there's been a lot of talk about Trump's getting ready to, issue the executive order, but the Joint Chiefs aren't with him. The deep state apparently wants at least a regional war with China before they force the Joint Chiefs to. I mean, it's wild. Russia and Israel are in on this, and Trump has to placate them if they're going to get their support. You've got rumors about the Pope being arrested. I mean, it's like, woo!
It's freaking nuts, man.
Like there's so much confusion in the air. Yeah, Lenny, you were going to say something?
They're just sowing confusion right now. It's crazy. Yeah. And they're going to do that all the way up to January 20th. They're going to put out the most imbecilic information. And the sad part is people are buying it, but I don't know about that 75 million people. I don't know if they're going to buy it. And there is a lot of them, especially the rhinos, they're terrified of that because they don't know what to do with that.
Well, and the other thing is that someone scooped Nancy Pelosi's laptop. So apparently there were special forces that were mixed in with the Antifa crowd.
Well, you can tell, man. There's that picture where there's that video, and I posted it. There's that video of these guys that they all look like they're 6'6", huge guys. They're definitely ex-operators, and I'm not talking, hi, operator. No.
One ringy dingy.
Yeah, I'm not talking about those operators. And they're standing in along the hallway, right? Some are on phones, some are just watching, but they're all standing down, and they're leading and guiding them with this little gauntlet of operators or actually active operators, as these 5'6" and 5'8" guys. I mean, there's a big, massive height difference. Walk in wearing camouflage and MAGA hats backwards, which we saw a post was how they were supposed to dress. Well, there they are, and they're walking down the hall with their phones, taking video of them walking into the. There's no unrest. There's no struggle. Oh, man. Let me put it this way, man. If these Muppets, I mean, this is Muppets with a cap, but it's all in caps, Muppets, with a bunch of exclamation marks. If these imbeciles that have placated CHOP and Portland, if the people that are running CHOP in Portland that allowed what happened on Wednesday, that are telling you what they're saying happened on Wednesday, these people want to run our country. Oh my God!
AOC wants to have more power.
AOC.
If that thought doesn't terrify anybody,
all of this should terrify you.
Yeah.
Absolutely, all of this should terrify you. My daughter sent me a link today. Amazon partner GoDaddy just shut down a gun website that's on their servers. One, I didn't know GoDaddy was partnered with Amazon.
Yeah, neither did I.
Yeah. So, but GoDaddy is not only. I don't know how internet savvy you guys are, but there was a time where you could only buy a domain name through the government, and then they opened that up. And GoDaddy is one of the companies you can register and buy domain names from. The fact that you have to do that is a little weird. Anyway, and so not only are they a domain name register, GoDaddy, they're also a hosting company with servers. You can host emails, you can host websites. Apparently this online gun store, whatever website, is hosted on GoDaddy servers. So GoDaddy has shut them down. Because, see, you've heard this come out of my mouth before. Government loves unarmed peasants. So does the church. That's why they didn't teach you how to heal the sick, cast out demons, raise the dead. That's why they don't, the Jesus model of church is, I want to empower you to surpass me. The Christian model of church is, I'm going to keep you down and I'm only going to let the yes men rise up. But if you actually have any authority in the spirit realm or any giftings, we're going to have to kind of keep you down, keep a lid on you. It's been happening to me for forever. Yeah, same way as government. It's a little weird when an official, law enforcement car drives real slowly by your house for no reason, and that never happens. That's why I just did what I did.
Do they have the Google microphones on?
The Google microphone's on. They can hear what I'm saying. Anyway, if for some reason these people get it, it's a brave new world tomorrow, man. And I'm not excited about it because I'm not wired for their world. I'm not wired for them at all. I'm not wired like that. No.
Yeah.
Well, what God was kind of laying upon my heart this morning is that if you look at Habakkuk or Habakkuk.
Yeah. That's how we say it here in the U.S. I don't know how you guys say it in Canada, but you're going. Yeah, go ahead. But Lance has been talking about that. Yeah.
It's in Hebrew. It's not just Canada.
Canadian.
Up here in Kanukistan.
Yep.
He says in chapter 2, he says, I will stand at my guard post and station myself on the watchtower, and I will keep watch to see what he will say to me.
Yeah.
And I think it's I think Zephaniah says the same thing, that I will stand watch. So in essence, I think what God is trying to tell me anyway is that we've done everything that we could for the past 4 years. So since Trump has been elected, and you've got this war that's been going on, and as things really began to heat up last year, and then you have COVID. I mean, we went shopping yesterday, and we went to Costco, and it is more and more.
You don't like Costco.
I can't stand Costco.
I know,
but
we've talked about it.
They still have the best prices.
Yeah.
But I'm getting to the point where that's not really going to be an issue anymore, because walking in there, Costco is one of the few places where you can't get an exemption. Like, they won't not allow you to wear a mask. So Dina, I need those masks. But the other thing is so they'll let you wear the
Tina.
She promised. I'm just holding her to it. So you've got these. They give you these face shields. So I feel like I should bring my acetylene torch in with me. Yeah, I might as well be a welder or something like that. So I'm walking around with
a ray gun. Taking a ray gun.
So I was walking around with it up here. Okay, not up here, but I mean, I was thinking of going in with it standing up straight like this, upside down. But so I had it up a bit, and we're walking around, and I have this guy say to me, "It's not down." I said, "I'll be okay." "No, you're not okay. And I walked away from ignored him. But then I had some, lady, "You got to have it right down, sir." So it's all open over here, right? All it is a face shield. So I'm not spitting directly at you. But it's all open over here. So up here is no good. Down here is okay. And these people have bought into this. Quebec actually is under curfew right now, believe it or not. And Ontario was seriously discussing yesterday as to whether they should do the same thing. So they're now locking people in their homes over what is in essence a non-existent virus. And they're going to keep pushing this over and over. We've done everything we could. We've told and told and told and told and told. You've got tons of information out there. Everybody has the ability to see it if they want to. And now we who have been faithful, the only thing we have left to do is, like Habakkuk, like Zephaniah, even like Jonah. Jonah went and preached the message, and then he went up on the hill, see what God was going to do. Now we have to wait and see what God's going to do. Now, I've heard a lot of prophetic voices that are saying that God's going to turn this whole thing upside down. I believe that. But there's still a lot of things that hang in the balance, and we don't know how this is going to play out, and we don't know how long it's going to take God to sort it all out either.
Right. And I'm not frustrated with God, and I'm not frustrated with God's timing. Nothing. My frustration has nothing to do with that. My frustration has to do with the humanity I have to deal with and here's why it frustrates me. If they're not capable, and I've been saying this for years, if you're not capable of seeing or lining up with the prophetic spirit of God that prophesied a Trump presidency, you don't have the discernment that is going to be required to process what's coming. Antichrist, false prophet, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I'm saying? That's where my frustration lies. Because, right, if you saw the same, if you saw the same thing I saw on TV Wednesday, and you're coming up with your conclusion, you're incapable, intellectually, mentally incapable of understanding and processing the basics of Christendom.
But
and here's why. Because, right?
They've been
that requires a spirit of truth, and these guys have defaulted to a spirit of falsehood.
That's but they have, this message has been hammered at people for so long that I think that there are some people who would prefer to believe otherwise, but it's just too hard now, and they haven't built up the spiritual muscle. They haven't been going to the spiritual gym. They haven't had to face the hard times. How many churches have shut down? There's one church in Windsor that got fined for opening up like Christmas Eve or something like that. It was like, they haven't determined exactly how much it is, but it's between $10,000 and $100,000 fine for violating the Reopening Ontario Act, it's called, or something like that. And the pastor is being threatened with 1 year in jail. And you know what the church did? They sent out a letter, said, well, we're just going to find another place to meet then, because we're not abiding by this. That's like the only one in Ontario of 12, 13 million people and thousands of churches that I have heard that has done that. It's because we've been so comfortable for so long. God says, that's it. COVID hit, everything got shut down. Now you're going to have to work for it. And if you haven't been on the treadmill at the gym, if you haven't been hitting the bag up until now, you're not going to be able to all of a sudden stand up. I had one pastor who said to me, and I don't have a relationship with him anymore, but he said when it came to these lockdowns and stuff like that, and the whole mask mandates, well, this isn't the mark of the beast. When it comes to that, we'll fight it. Are you joking me? If you don't fight this, how are you going to fight the mark of the beast? People have they just think that, well, I'll just refuse it. Then you get your head lopped off, which is probably what's going to happen anyway, whether you probably won't make it to the mark.
It's interesting. I'm finding a lot of the narrative is coming from the church. I think I talked to 3 different people this week. It's what they're hearing out there and what they're trying to process with their emotions was not what's happening with government and what's happening around them is this underlying message of self-preservation. And people are going, but I was taught that we're not going to have to face this. Yeah. I was taught that this is my right. I was taught that God would never abandon us. And yet, listen to this. And those of the people who understand shall instruct many, yet for many days they shall fall by sword and flame and captivity to refine, to purify them until the time of the end.
Daniel 12.
Oh my, think about that. And the instruction that needs to go out is exactly what we're saying here, is the fact that we don't need to be shaken by this stuff. We need to proclaim the gospel. The people don't realize that the greatest revival is going to happen when the biggest judgments are in the earth. And
then people are going to need an answer.
Don't want to hear that. The greatest time of ingathering is going to happen when everything is falling out around them. And it's trying to jump to that level because, again, I refer to that. It says in Revelation, the angels going throughout the realm above us crying out the everlasting gospel of the kingdom. And people just don't know what that is. And so I hear the chatter, and yet we're supposed to face this with the greatest worship and joy we've ever had. I have a hard time with that because, like Allan says, I look at humanity around me and I'm going, what a bunch of idiots. And yet this is the message that has to go out. I know that. And there's a spirit of Barbara Streisand in the church. They want to sing the way we were. Talk about a demonic spirit.
And I did it my way.
Thought.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm gonna read this. I'm gonna read this for us right now. I'm going to read this first couple verses at the top of it to give us context. Now, concerning the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ and our being gathered together to him, we ask you, brothers, not to be quickly shaken in mind or alarmed either by a spirit or a spoken word or a letter seeming to be from us, to the effect that the day of the Lord has come. Here's what I want you to listen to. Let no one deceive you in any way, for that day will not come unless the rebellion comes first, and the man of lawlessness is revealed, the son of destruction, who opposes and exalts himself against every so-called God or object of worship, so that he takes his seat in the temple of God, proclaiming himself to be God. Do you not remember that when I was still with you, I told you these things? And you know what is restraining him now, so that he may be revealed in his time. For the mystery of lawlessness is already at work. Only he who now restrains it will do so until he is out of the way. And then the lawless one will be revealed, whom the Lord Jesus will kill with the breath of his mouth and bring to nothing by the appearance of his coming. The coming of the lawless one is by the activity of Satan with all power and false signs and wonders, and with all wicked deception for those who are perishing because they refused to love the truth and so be saved. Therefore, God sends them a strong delusion so that they may believe what is false, in order that all may be condemned who did not believe the truth but had pleasure in unrighteousness.
Says it all.
That's 2 Thessalonians 2, 1 through 12. So
and it's, yeah.
Jesus is going to kill him by the appearance of his coming. But before that, God is sending humans a strong delusion so that they may believe what is false, in order that all may be condemned who did not believe the truth. I'm sorry, go ahead, Lenny.
No, I'm just saying, oh boy, I'm just saying amen on this side. Because a lot of preachers are going, oh, it's coming. No, the falling away is here. It's been here for a while. Because it's lawlessness. Total lawlessness.
So the coming of the lawless one is by the activity of Satan with all power and false signs and wonders and with all wicked. See, that's what people, I harp on. I should have brought this up last night, but I harp on your need for spiritual discernment all the time. What are you going to do when Satan shows up with all power and false signs and wonders? Antichrist comes with his mighty ones in the air, and they're going to be doing miracles and supernatural things. It says here, false signs and wonders. They're only false because it's Satan. The signs and the wonders are real, but they're going to be satanic, which makes them false. If you don't have the discernment between an Obama, a Hillary, and a Trump, or a Biden, Mr. Christian, I'm talking to you, Christians. If you don't have the discernment to choose between those four correctly, you will not choose correctly when this happens. And you know why Satan's doing this? Let me read it again. The coming of the lawless one is by the act. See, right now, you can't say that the person you voted for, whether it was Hillary or Obama I'm going to stop. The coming of the lawless one is by the activity of Satan with all power and false signs and wonders, and with all wicked deception for those who are perishing. Oops. Because they refuse to love the truth and so be saved. If you're on the wrong side of the spirit of prophecy, which is the testimony of Jesus, oops. Therefore, God sends them a strong delusion. He's not just talking about the world, and so that they may believe what is false, in order that all may be condemned who did not believe the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. And we talked about this in the 2-minute warning, incorruptible, about having the appearance of godliness, but denying the power. He was talking to the church. He wasn't talking to non-believers. This is Paul's writing. He's writing to his churches. This is what gets me so riled up. You don't have discernment. You don't have spiritual discernment. Yet you're trying to tell me how you're right and I'm wrong in matters that are way above your pay grade. You don't have the faculties to discern these things simply by the theology and doctrine that you believe in. It doesn't take spiritual discernment to determine that about you. Your decisions rat you out. And you have to have it. You know, if you get anywhere near Ephesians 6, you're going to be consumed because you don't have the discernment, let alone the spiritual authority to take on Ephesians 6. And that's why I get so riled up, because you're like the Pharisees, man. You're trying to convince Jesus that you don't come from the line of prophet killers as you're making the plans to kill him. You're just like them.
Well, there has to be the sorting out.
They've mistaken what Jesus said, and they don't understand when he says judge with righteous judgment and what it means to be righteous. And last night after the discipleship class that you put on with the Exodus, I'll tell you, I went back and read 1 John 3 and 4 about 5 different times. You want to talk about his whole commentary on deception, his whole commentary on righteousness. And it starts out, here's the first thing: whoever commits sin also commits lawlessness, and sin is lawlessness. Then he goes into the narrative of deception over and over and over, where people don't have the discernment they need based on righteousness. And Jesus didn't mince words when he said, judge by righteous judgment. They won't stand.
And the thing that, again, the other thing that just freaks me out is I can put faces and names to this. That's the hardest thing as I've grown. You do this long enough, right? What was that great line from What About Bob? Maybe God isn't omnipotent. He's just been around a long time, right? That's a great line. But it's the same, as I've been doing this Christian thing for a long time. So now I read the Bible, good, bad, or indifferent, and I can see faces and names and faces to the people being talked about. See, so when it says, for those who are perishing because they refuse to love the truth, the ones God sends them a strong delusion. I can see names and faces to that word them, and that's what freaks me out. That's what bothers me. That's what gets me agitated, because it's like I've tried. I try talking to these people. I try. I have these names and faces to go with these. Are those? Is that a pronoun? Is that what that's called? A pronoun? The word them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, see, I don't know. I have names and faces to go with those things, and that's what freaks me out. because these are people I love. We're talking friends and family, people I've known for years, Christians that I've known forever, that fall into this category, that believe what they saw on Wednesday is what the media is telling them they saw, that don't believe in the prophetic, that are on the wrong side of the spirit of prophecy, that never once submitted to the spirit of prophecy regarding this administration. If they don't have the discernment to understand that, they're not going to have the discernment to understand what's coming tomorrow. And they're going to vote in people that are detrimental to our faith, to our way of life, to our great republic. I mean, they're already compromised when it comes to theology and doctrine. See, that's the thing. That's a common thread. All these people that are calling themselves Christians that believe the opposite narrative believe false theology and doctrine. See, they're already in that. They're already there. So that's why it freaks me out, because it's like, oh, if this is what you're doing in the physical realm, I understand. I know what you're doing in the spiritual realm, because the physical manifests the spiritual. How can you possibly think this instead of this? And then you go and check out their theology and doctrine, and it's like, oh, you were compromised a long time ago. You actually believe what the world says is okay, you believe is okay too, regardless of what the biblical narrative tells you, because they believe that the biblical narrative is flawed. They believe the Old Testament is flawed, and we're under whatever. We're under, oh my gosh, it just goes on and on. Yeah, I believe that, Kevin. Here's what Kevin says. It's the same thing. When you're deceived, you don't know that you're deceived. You know why? What's that?
Isn't that always the problem?
Yeah. Well, see, here's the thing. Here's the Christian, and I'm talking about the Christian left. Here's what the Christian left believes in: social justice. You got to deal with the poor. Be like Jesus. Jesus dealt with the poor. Jesus did this. Jesus did that. Social justice. Social justice. God wouldn't condemn homosexuality. God wouldn't condemn this and that or the other. Right? Social. The problem is, when it comes to their doctrine or their statement of faith, everything that they're championing, only one character in the biblical narrative offers them that, and it's not Jesus. It's the Antichrist. He's the one that brings global peace. He's the one that eradicates poverty, right? So everybody's on the same level financially. He brings peace to the world. He unites Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. Coexist, right? Blah, 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 blah. Jesus doesn't say he's going to do that. No, Jesus says he's coming with a sword, and he's going to divide. He's coming back, and he's kicking ass, and he's slaughtering kings. That's what it says. And they don't believe in the nation, that the nation state of Israel is God's, whatever. They're pro-Palestinian and anti-Israel. Well, that's really going to screw with Jesus' second coming, because he's coming back to deliver Israel from her enemies, physical realm enemies. It's too much, man.
Boy, there's so much going through my head. It brings me back to what we were talking about last night too, between milk and solid food, Allan. Daniel tells us exactly how the lawless one and what he looks like. It says he comes in with flatteries. So not only is he a yes man, but he appeals to all their emotions, saying, you're important, and I just want to be there for you. And yeah, you might love God, because he's going to agree with that. But he goes, you're more important. Your feelings are more important. He comes in through flattery and deception, and he just appeals to the mass humanity of saying it's all about me. And he wins people over by that, and they don't realize how deceptive that is. And in the church, we're constantly, we're trying to make excuses for people not realizing that Jesus not only overcame, but it has given us deliverance from sin and from stupidity. Talk about the Muppets at the end of the age.
Right. But
And most of them are believers.
and here's the difficult part, because so for example, when it comes to the conversation about sexual immorality, for example,
Yeah.
non-heterosexual sex, they're like, oh, well, I don't believe in what the Old Testament says. Jesus, New Testament, and it's not in the 10 Commandments. Okay. They don't understand the how convoluted their answer is. They're not Old Testament because they're New Testament because of Jesus, and which is convoluted in and of itself. But then they put the cherry on top. I believe in the 10 Commandments, and it doesn't say that homosexuality is bad in the 10 Commandments. And you're sitting there going, but that's Old Testament, right? So it's like you just sit there and you go, you're a special kind of stupid. I can't even.
When did God ever differentiate between the 10 and the other 600?
But see, you can't go there because they're so diluted and so convoluted for them to even say that. That's their defense.
Well, but wait a minute. They believe in the 10 Commandments. They don't believe in the Shabbat. So they don't even adhere to that. As a matter of fact, even if you're going to say that the law doesn't apply to the Gentiles, and I'm dealing with someone on that right now, and you go to Acts chapter 15 and verse 20.
I know.
and count the council on Jerusalem. And it says that there's 4 commands that they have to keep.
3 of them are food. Diet.
3 of them are food.
I know.
The church doesn't even keep those.
I know, but you can't get that far with them. I know this. And then when it comes to the whole, what about the Trump presidency, the prophets? Well, I don't believe in prophecy for today. That's the end of the conversation. Okay. Trump can't be God's man because I don't believe in prophecy for today because that's done away with. And so there's no prophets today. So they're all false prophets. And God would never use a man that was, that would say, grab him by the
short and curlies.
You can't even have the conversation. I mean, when Jesus comes back, they're going to say, oh, look, there's a Jewish terrorist hell-bent on Zionism. That's not Jesus. And then we're going to go, then that's the end of the conversation.
Wait a minute. God wouldn't use a man who would swear? Didn't Peter drop a bunch of F-bombs when he was being accused of knowing Yeshua while he was being led away? Doesn't it say that he swore and cursed and says, I don't know the man? God would never use a man that would swear? Well, you and I better sign off, Allan. We're not qualified. Lenny's okay.
I'm gonna sign off.
They didn't
that shit last night.
Look at Nebuchadnezzar. Look at
Cyrus.
Cyrus
is a pagan Gentile.
The very narrative that he says, I raise up kings and take down kings. Take the name Trump out of it. The very fact that they're there, he endorses it. Here's the scary part. If Biden is there, even though Trump won, we know he did, but Biden's there, why is he putting him there? Well, the new terminology for the one world government's called the global reset. And let me tell you, these things have to fall in place. People go, well, I'm not going to believe that end of it because, again, you're telling me all my conveniences are going away. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, Lenny, do you really believe the whole world is in on this? How is that even possible, Lenny? Come on.
I guess I'm just that naive, baby.
Somebody actually told me that. Hey, let's spend the next 20 minutes talking about all these prophets that are saying, I'm sorry, I prophesied incorrectly. And right. And they're doing this whole, I'm under submission and authority and I'm being transparent and I got it wrong and I prophesied wrong about Trump. I'm so sorry. What kind of nonsense is going on, man?
But if you look at the Torah portion last week, and you have we're talking about submission to the government. All these evangelifish pastors who are just quoting Romans 13, and you go to the Torah portion, it talks about the midwives, and Pharaoh told them, if a baby boy comes out, you kill it.
I don't give pastors a lot of credo, I mean, it's the apostles and the prophets that I'm concerned about.
But the pastors are the ones who are still speaking, and they're the ones who are supposed to lead. They're the shepherds. They're the ones who are supposed to be leading the flock by the still waters.
I think they're
And
supposed to be.
they're gonna be
I think they're
leading them like
professional
the
babysitters.
concentration
It's the
camps.
prophets that run the church. But yes, they're wrong. But what about the prophets that are out there saying, "Oh, I apologize. I prophesied wrong about Trump"? Now, does that bother anybody, or is it just me that it bothers?
And you know what? They don't know who Jesus is. They don't know Yeshua.
They didn't hear from
They
God.
don't understand what prophecy is.
Well, did they hear from God? But because I think Trump won, and it was stolen from him.
Totally.
That does happen.
Yeah.
And you know what also happens in the biblical narrative? God says, "Hey, let's go do this." Okay, and they prophesy that, and then everything's changed because of man's heart. You can sway God and the outcome.
Yeah.
What if, right? I mean, so what if God was? What if? Okay, we don't. It's first of all, it's not done yet. Let's just start with that. It's not finished yet. And if something, whatever happens, and Trump gets it, these guys are going to have to backpedal yet again. Notice it's the new guys that are apologizing. The older guys are going, "Stay on target, hold, stay on target." That's what the old guys are doing. But anyway, so for example, let's say God does prophesy that Trump's going to get a second term. But because we blew it and dropped the ball first term, God could say, "Yeah, you know what? No, that's not going to happen. You guys have dropped the ball. You weren't good stewards of it, and now I'm going to spank you." That's happened. There's examples of God saying this, or right. The whole Exodus to Egypt debacle is God saying, "Hey, this is a 400-year prophecy, and you're going to fulfill it now." And then every time we turn around, he's like going, "Nope, nope, nope, nope. I'm going to wipe you all out. I'm going to start over. I'm going to kill them all, start over, blah, 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 blah." And then, he changes the original plan. Look at the original instruction regarding Shabbat. Don't gather. Well, guess what? They couldn't even do that right. So he says, "Don't leave your tents." People think this is a commandment now. "Oh, Allan, you left your house on the Sabbath? You wouldn't have had breakfast with your wife on the Sabbath? You're breaking the Sabbath, brother. You're not supposed to leave your house. You're not even supposed to cook." It doesn't say that. The original instruction isn't "don't leave your house." The original instruction is "don't gather." But because you couldn't even do that right, God says, "Don't leave your stinking house tents," because you're a dumbass.
Look at the difference between the first 10 commandments and then the second set. 7 of the 10 have been changed because they couldn't keep the first 10. So the first 10 is the only ones we remember. But when he comes back down the mountain in Exodus 34 with the new tablets, they're different.
Yeah.
And they're more practical this time. See, the first 10 were all about the theological principle. The second 10 were more about, you're going to show up at this time on this day in this manner. And then you get into Leviticus 23 and he, unpacks that even more. So the point is that God will give the principle to you. And then because we can't figure out how to apply the principle, then he has to give you the methodology. And so going to 1 Corinthians 11, Paul says to the Corinthians, "I commend you for adhering to the what? The traditions that I gave you." A lot of these things that are implemented throughout the Bible are traditions so that we know how to keep it. And yet, everybody goes to Mark chapter 7 and says, "Oh, traditions are bad." No, the traditions of men are bad. The elementary principles of this world are bad, according to Paul in Colossians 2:8. A lot of traditions are good. The way that we celebrate the Passover today,
it's not even
that tradition.
Yeah, it's all tradition.
Yeah,
everything about it.
Having the extra elements on the table. We do that.
Better yet,
salt water. I have because that's part of what my family has done ever since I was born.
Right. My favorite part is the reclining when you're actually supposed to be standing. It's like it's the exact opposite. Yeah, we don't do the egg thing though.
No.
Yeah.
Well, when I realized what the egg was all about, we cut that out. past
Yeah.
year.
But the point being, God does change prophetic words. Do change.
Yeah.
God allows us, good or bad, right? Because if you fast and pray, he could have been wanting to judge you, but you fasted and prayed and you gave in, right? And you aligned, he changes. Oh, okay, now I'm going to spare you. Or, hey, I was going to do this good thing, but then you screwed it all up. Now you're going to get spanked. Israel's a good example of that. Well, Israel is the example for all of that.
That's Ezekiel 33. God
Right.
says
So
he's
then,
going to change his mind.
right. So then these guys apologizing, and the way they're apologizing, oh my gosh, one of them even said, thank God we live under the grace of the New Testament grace of Jesus. And I was like, oh.
Oops.
And I'm like, and I really honor and respect this particular prophet. And I follow him on Instagram. And so the first year I followed him on Instagram, obviously he's going to do Christmas. That's a given. Dude, he does Halloween with his freaking little kids. And I'm like,
oh, yeah, that's not good.
very confusing. So if I'm pretty good at this prophetic prophet discernment stuff, and I'm not saying that to pat myself on the back. I'm just saying that's just the truth. I was told I learned a long time ago. If it's true, it's not boasting. It's just fact. So I say all that to say, I even get confused regarding these people, and I can only imagine how these guys' apologies are just confusing the uneducated masses. Because first of all, Christianity isn't taught correctly regarding prophecy, prophets, false, good, true. What happens if it doesn't come true? Do we stone them? You know what I'm saying? They've never been taught correctly regarding it. So they don't know what's going on, and they're not prophets themselves, but it's okay to judge them. It's like, no, it's not. You have no right. You can't judge them. You're not a prophet. Anyway, it's just so convoluted.
Allan, when Paul said, despise not prophesying, they right away put it within the context of their America-centric church, where you're going to sit in your pew and you're going to, the pastor's going to instruct you as far as the order of all the gifts that are released. When he said, despise not prophesying, he says, you don't have a clue to judge that. Look at the Old Testament. You know what? If we were to judge Jeremiah in the present time that he was alive, we would have called him a false prophet. If you would have looked at Isaiah, he would have been a false prophet.
What about Abraham? 400 years.
70 years later. And he said, despise not prophesying. He goes, in other words, shut your mouth. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And again, it's all America-centric Christianity. So, let me teach you about the gifts. Give me a break. And as far as the Antichrist, when John said there are many Antichrists, that means the church had to battle everyone that came along.
Yeah.
You don't think the devil wanted to raise his head 500 years ago? And people are just ignorant because of the way we're taught.
Yeah.
That's why we know less now than we ever have before. That's why spiritual warfare, we think we have a handle on it. Oh my gosh.
Well, the whole League of Nations after the First World War was designed to bring in the New World Order. And that didn't work. It fell apart because people weren't ready for it. So they realized, okay, so we have to continue our destruction of the and then they brought in communism. We have to destroy Western society. We got to take down the church. And so the plan happened right back then. Again, Henry Monteith in Brotherhood of Darkness, he talks about all this.
Right.
Like this was going on from the beginning of the 20th century. Yeah. They'd wanted to put it in then. Then they had World War II. But then, the United States rose because Christianity was strong then. There was a power base then that God had. And so they had to get to work in order to undermine the United States and start bringing in abortion and, liberal theology and everything else, to the point where now there's hardly anything left. And he's getting ready to move, and he wants to implement the New World Order now, except God put Trump in there to mess everything up and awaken everybody.
Yeah.
You've got more
I
people
agree.
awake now than have been in probably 50 years in the church.
Yeah. Yeah. So yes, April, what Darryl said. Yeah. So check this out. So here's another thing that a lot of Christians and the majority of the Torah community have messed up. In fact, I got kicked out of some Torah groups. Some of you know this because of my position regarding the 7 mountains. So the 7 mountaintop prophecy is 100% correct, true, blah, blah, blah. And because you don't believe that, you've allowed what's happened as Christians, as the church, Torah or not, to occur. Here's what I'm talking about. So the 7 mountaintop prophecy is basically we need to be in positions of influence in order to, right? No, not usher. Whatever you heard is wrong. So here's the thing. In 1971, to support what Darryl just said, in 1971, Greenspan put out in his memoirs regarding the TLC, the Trilateral Commission, if you know what that is. How do we take over the world? Well, you take over the world by taking over the United States. How do you take over the United States? And he mentions 4 of the 7 mountains: church, right? Religion, education, business, media. The world knows this, Mr. Christian. And it took the world, right? Because the 7 mountaintop prophecy is maybe which we call it. They got it in the 80s, but then the 2 guys that got it, Bright and the other guy, YWAM guy and the other guy, I forgot who it was exactly. I have the information, I just can't remember it. But their ministries weren't in a position to do anything about it. Then Lance Wallnau and Johnny Enlow got the interpretation, and they started preaching it around 2016, 2017. No. 2006, 2007. So it's maybe 12 or 14 years old. But the world's known about this since day one, right? Joseph, remember the guy with the multicolored, right? Same thing. He was second Pharaoh. All you guys would lose your mind on the fact that this guy's a Pharaoh. Oh, he can't be from God. He's a Pharaoh. Yeah, that's what you would say.
And he was the first one to implement collectivism too.
Yeah, like
the way
let's
that
talk about that, right? And
that wasn't
right?
godly.
Right. Joseph can't be from God. He's second Pharaoh. He rules Egypt when Pharaoh's on the lake. And Daniel's in charge of the Coptics. He can't be from God. He's a sorcerer. And not only is he a sorcerer, he's in charge of the sorcerers. And he's been taught in the ways of sorcery.
And who do you think ran Babylon for 7 years while Nebuchadnezzar was grazing with the heifers?
These people don't understand that.
Does anybody think about this? How did Nebuchadnezzar, after completely losing his mind for 7 years, walk back onto the throne? You don't think that there would have been 1,000 knives like Julius Caesar to take this guy out and implement a new king? I mean, that happened all throughout history. Look at how many times it happened in the northern kingdom of Israel. Kings got assassinated. How did Nebuchadnezzar walk back on the throne? Because Daniel held the fort for him. He ran the whole country, the whole empire, rather, for 7 years.
Right. So you've got Joseph, who's in a place of dominion. That can't be God. You've got Daniel, who's in a place of dominion. That can't be God. You've got Caleb and Joshua, who are spies, Mossad. That can't be from God because the Torah community says that today. They don't believe that. And then you've got King Solomon, who's basically ruling the entire planet. Oh, I'm sorry. Whatever it is.
How could Jesus come from Judah when he raped his daughter-in-law? Oh my gosh.
There's a whole bunch of that. So the 7 mountains are saying you need to be in positions of influence. And it talks about government, business, religion, education, family, media, and entertainment. But because you don't know that, you're not in those positions, and it's a bad thing. If I decided to go into politics, if God forbid called me into politics, you would all say, "Oh, Allan's not a true believer. Oh, Allan is involved with rock and roll. He knows all this stuff about rock and roll. He still listens to Bowie. Oh, he's not a real believer."
They should listen to the music I sent you.
I'm a Christian. I am a Christian, and I don't smoke, I don't drink, or chew, or go with girls that do.
Right. Well, so that's why you're lost. That's why you're losing.
That's why
You're not hashtag winning. You're hashtag losing, and your followers dissipate after 12, 10, 15 years. You don't have any, right? There's a problem. Christianity is broken because you've done it wrong all these years, and you believe the lies of the devil, and you believe doctrines of demons. You don't believe in prophecy. You don't believe in speaking. Well, let me put it this way. I know people that believe in prophecy, speaking in tongues, healing the sick, and casting demons, but they don't, and they can't, and they don't know how. But that's the same as not believing it. See, and if you don't believe in the demonstrative gifts of signs and wonders of the Holy Spirit today, you're losing. If you don't believe that you're supposed to be in places of influence, you're losing. And if you're not in alignment with what God's doing on the earth today, you will get spanked. And I'm afraid. I'm going with what Mario Murillo said, and that was, hey, we've been given a state of execution with Donald Trump presidency.
Mm-hmm.
Be a good steward of it. Don't blow it. Don't sabotage yourself. Don't squander it, because if you do, you're going to get spanked.
Well, and the judgment will be worse after that.
And that's where I think we are. I'm afraid that's where we're at. I'm praying that that's not true. God have mercy on our republic.
Well, and 9/11 was the same thing. 9/11 was a wake-up call. And, church attendance increased for a couple of months.
And how many years after 9/11 did we have a Muslim?
7. And a gay one at that.
Oh, Jesus.
April says you watch the Hodge twins, you can't be a Christian.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. They're at least sane.
They're funny too.
Oh my gosh. They're hilarious, man. That's cracking me up. Oh, see why I'm so triggered? See why I'm so triggered? Here's the thing, man. Here's the thing. The world is the world. I don't fight against the world because my Bible tells me not to. See, I'm a friend of the world. I interact with the world. I am. Ask Lenny. Lenny has known me since 1987. I've been engulfed in working in the world and doing what I do, right, at a high level. Blah 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 blah. That's what I do. What the Bible says. I'm freaked out because there's Christians out there that believe what they believe, and my Bible says not to have anything to do with them because they're not of us. That's why I get upset. I want to see all men come to the fullness, to the understanding and fullness of Messiah in their life. And when my biggest obstacle it's the prodigal son, man. The older brother hated him and despised him. That's the church. Lenny told me that like in 1980, who freaking knows when. But Lenny mentioned that to me in the 80s. And that I would always have that problem with the older brother. And I have. And I'm just trying to explain to you that my father, our father, who has shown me grace and mercy when I came into the fold, because I was a prodigal, loves you too, but you're so full of anger and bitterness and jealousy and falsehood and goofy stuff. You can't see straight, man. You don't believe any of the Old Testament, and you don't even believe all of the New Testament. So what the heck are you doing? Why don't you just leave? You're in the way, buddy. Would you rather hear that from me today and I can upset you? Or would you rather hear that from God when he spews you out of his mouth because you're not even hot or cold. You're just mediocre nonsense. I'm trying to spare you from that, man, by telling you the truth.
I have this highlighted in my Bible from 20 years ago, 30 years ago, Allan. It says, I believe I said this to you, I do not pray that you should take them out of the world, but that you should keep them from the evil one.
Oh, that's good.
Well, again, Now we just stand at the ready and we watch. Let's see what God's going to do. We've done everything we could. We talked the message. We've proclaimed it. And now we can be satisfied that if there's blood, it's not on our hands, it's on theirs. Because they can never say that they didn't know.
No, we can't. And see, and that bums me out because there's people here in Park City that didn't heed my word, and you should see where they're at now. And it's absolutely tragic. I don't get any joy out of that. I put my neck on the line for these people to keep them from doing what they just did. We just found out yesterday, one of our people yesterday basically had told us yesterday, yeah, your community is no longer for me. I'm going to go find another one. I know what that means because they're not involved with anything now. They haven't been involved with anything for the last 2 years. And I warned them 2 years ago, if you do this, it's going to backfire in your face. You're not able to do this in community with us. There's no way in hell you're going to be able to do this without us.
Allan, I shut down my congregation last week.
Wow. And so this
whole thing.
Yeah, this individual, as of yesterday, we had to have a little sit-down lunch with them yesterday, and they basically said, yeah, I'm going to have to move on because your community isn't for me anymore. I don't feel I can bring my non-Christian friends to your house. And we're like, are you high? We freaking wrote the book on that. And you know that. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah. So it's like, see, this is like, I wake up every day and I have to pull that bandage off that scab. You know what I'm saying? This is a constant. I'm constantly trying to equip people who don't want equipping, make me the bad guy, and then go and self-destruct. And I'm tired of seeing people self-destruct. I'm tired of it. And it's not, and a good leader is going to look at himself in the mirror every time that happens and go, okay, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? I haven't done anything wrong. You know how you can tell? Okay, look at the fruit. Look at their life. Look at my life. Weigh the fruit. Mm-hmm. I've got a consistent narrative, man. That thing that happened to me online yesterday that I told you about with that Muppet, that's been going on with me for years. They've been doing that to me since I got saved. As popular as my band was, we weren't popular with everyone, man. They thought I was the freaking devil because of what I was doing, how I was doing it, and what I was saying. Isn't that true, Lenny? You were there. When Zondervan came after us to pull that record off the shelf, internationally, globally, the record company was fielding all the phone calls regarding the, we support and stand behind this record, and all the other calls regarding my legitimacy as a Christian they were being sent to Lenny. This is a new territory for me, people. It's just worse. And because of the internet, because we didn't have the internet in 1989, the reach is further. And I just want you to fall in love with Jesus. I want you to fall in love again with your first love, because you've strayed.
That's the bottom line.
You're no longer in love with your first love.
And this is what the Lord told my wife regarding the people that we just let go. The Lord said to my wife, tell them, where's your love?
So some of you know that was it 2 years ago now? Yeah, I guess 2 years ago, we got involved with a church here in town. They let us use their facility and, but as soon as we walked in there, God demonstrated his power and authority through us. There was healings, whatever. It was very short-lived. It was less than 9 months because they couldn't handle it. They couldn't take it. They wanted me out of there so bad. So I left to ease the whatever. And my son said something that I'll never forget. He's like, because the majority of these people were like, 60s, 70s. A couple of them were in their 80s. And my son said, First of all, he's like, man, I'm really sick and tired of watching and hearing these people shite on you, on my mom and dad. That's all he's ever seen his whole life, are people doing that to us. He goes, I'm sick of it. I'm sick and tired of it. He goes, the age group of these people, what if this was their last chance? What if this was their last shot to do it right, to get in alignment with God? That is so terrifyingly sobering. I mean, simply because of their age. And it was bad. I mean, they actually used me as an example to fire the pastor a year and a half later. These people are so wrong. Not because of what they did to me, not because of what they did and how they did it. And they didn't receive my word. And so my son said that, and that's entirely, absolutely terrifying. This is probably the last opportunity these people will ever have to get in alignment with the true spirit of the true gospel, the real thing. And they demonized it.
Yeah.
They're going to get spanked. You know, that's a terrifying thing. So I defer to what Darryl just said. We've told you. We keep telling you. I want to encourage those of you that watch, those of you that tune in every week, those of you that are going to watch the replay. I want to encourage you guys to stand firm, man. Don't be afraid of their faces. Tell them what, stand firm.
And comfort them, because it's about to get really hairy.
Yeah. Fast and pray for the protection of yourself and your family. Fast and pray for the protection of your loved ones. Fast and pray that God would continue to have mercy and mercy and mercy and mercy on these people in this country. See, here's the thing, man. Yeah. You know why? There's the United States is a world power. That's why Russia and China are kind of like, they'd like to see us out of the picture. Here's the thing. This isn't about the United States of America, but here's the importance, besides the fact that I live here and I'm an American and I'm a patriot. In the you got to remember, I'm going to repeat this for the rest of I will always repeat this. I've been saying this for a gazillion years and I'll keep saying it. The physical realm manifests what's happening in the spiritual realm. You need to understand that and quit focusing on the physical realm and focus on the spiritual realm. In the spiritual realm, grand scheme of things, America is important because we're Israel's first line of defense. If they can eliminate us in the practical, in the right, do you understand this? I hope I just didn't confuse you. The reason why we're important is because we're Israel's biggest ally in the physical realm. The spiritual realm wants to eliminate us to make it easier for them to have their way with Israel. And when that happens, Messiah will come. And if you don't, I told you guys this the first week of October 2019, that if you didn't have this understanding, like even Darryl said, if you haven't been flexing these muscles, you probably won't get it. And it'll be too late. But that's how it's going to play out. Israel's the target. And then Messiah comes. It's all about Jesus. It's all about Jesus. It's all about Jesus. And until you have a revelation of the person of Jesus Christ and what that means based on his understanding, based on his you're going to keep failing at this. And I don't want you to keep failing. I want you to stop failing at this. I want your marriages to be whole and complete. I want both you and your husband and your wife to be serving the Lord together, not just one of them. I want you to raise your children in the way that they should go. I want you to be able to train them up. I want you to have the skill sets to train your children up to serve the Lord. And I want you, like we talked about last night, I want you to have the skill sets and the abilities to be able to raise and train up your child in the spiritual realm, how to fight spiritual warfare, how to have discernment of spirits, how to have the spiritual discernment. I want you to be able to do that. I'm tired of seeing all these freaking families devastated because the children don't grow up and serve the Lord because the parents were unable to raise them up or train them up. I want you to be able to do that. I want you to have a full, whole marriage, because I know some of you watching are married to a spouse that doesn't buy into the majority of this. I want that fixed for you. I want your children not to grow up and be spawns of Satan. I want you to grow up, right? I want Deuteronomy 6 to be in your life. You, your children, and your children's children. I want your grandchildren to have the influence of God in your life, in their lives. I want you to be able to be proactively, and I'm speaking to myself because I'm involved this is my life too. I have children, I have a marriage, I have grandkids. I want you to be able to influence the life trajectory of your grandchildren for your destiny, for your spiritual inheritance. I want you to kick the habitual sin that you constantly fall in. That's becoming a major wedge between you and the interaction that you're supposed to have with the Holy Spirit. I mean, do you see what I'm saying? I had to tell somebody yesterday, hey, you know what? When you get your crap together, I'm not going to benefit from that. It's not like I get zeros added to my bank account when you decide to show up, when you decide to submit and start walking correctly. I'm not going to gain anything from this. That's not why I do this. I do this because this is what I've been told to do. Here's what's going on. You need a revelation of the person of Jesus Christ. You need to submit. You need to die to yourself. You need to stop screwing around. You need to align with what God is doing on the earth today. Or just get out of the way, because you're going to be better off if you just go full-blown pagan than if you stay here in your mediocre little Christian. I don't know what the hell you're talking about or what you're doing, because there's nothing cool about being a Christian. This is the stupidest thing you can get involved with. But a victorious life of abundance in Messiah, that's a different thing. Because that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about being a Christian. Christianity is a joke. I'm talking about an abundant life in Messiah. That's a different thing. And in the meantime, the lunatics have taken over the asylum.
So remember to like and share. And hold on to your hats. It's going to be a fun week.
Hang on, everybody. Here we go. Remember that?
You're listening to Chameleon Church. Biblical Antidotes for the Modern Man. With your host, Allan Aguirre.
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussion, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan Hoogie, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.